In question 67 we're given the following graph, which has 3 lines which we're told represent light green, dark green and yellow leaves which are collected and have 16 1 centimetre discs cut out of them. We're told then that these discs of leaves are exposed to sodium hydrogen carbonate solution, which removes the air spaces in the leaf. We can bear that in mind. We're also told that the sodium hydrogen carbonate is a source of carbon dioxide. We then set up an experiment where we have sodium hydrogen carbonate solution and our 16 leaves placed within them. Just as a reminder, there is a source of carbon dioxide present in this solution. And then we're told that over a course of 15 minutes, there is a number of discs which eventually rise to the surface over the course of this 15-minute period. And this differs depending on the colour of the leaves. So why would that be? Before we have a look at the 3 statements which we have to assess whether they're true or false, it's best to get a grip of what's happening here. If we have carbon dioxide and we have light, which we're told is exposed to all 3 of the beakers for 30 minutes by placing a lamp 10 centimetres away, we would have photosynthesis, which is the fixation of carbon dioxide and water into oxygen and glucose for respiration in the presence of light. We're already told that the sodium hydrogen carbonate removes all the air spaces within the leaves, making them more dense, and over the course of the experiment, presumably the production of oxygen and glucose over the course of the process of photosynthesis increases the density of the solution to the point where the leaves are eventually less dense and rise to the surface. So, the rate of photosynthesis appears to be intimately linked to the rate at which the density of the solution changes. So we can say that for instance, the dark green leaf happens to have photosynthesis at the greatest rate since the number of floating discs is greater within a given time period. So, bearing that in mind, let's have a look at our 3 statements that we have to assess whether they're true or false. We'll start with statement number 1, which is that the average rate of photosynthesis is highest in the darkest leaves. Well, that's something we've just explained by having a look at the graph, and the fact that number of floating discs is greatest in a given time period for the darkest leaves. Moving on to statement 2, at 5 minutes, at this interval here, we're told that 25% of the light green discs remain at the bottom of the beaker. Well, we know this isn't true because 4 of them rose to the top, presumably leaving 12 at the bottom, or 75%, not 25%. So we could say this is false. And 3, a reciprocal of the time taken for a quarter of the discs to float can be a measure of the relative photosynthesis rate for different coloured leaves. Well, whenever we have a situation where we have a frequency, we can convert it into a rate by doing 1 over t. And 1 over t is the rate at which the frequency changes. So we can say this is a fair thing to do, and we know that it gives an indication of the relative photosynthesis rate, given that we are shown the relationship between discs floating and photosynthesis. So we can say that 1 and 3 are true, and our answer is therefore F.